Hi everyone and welcome to my second channel. What you're about to see is a clip from one of the videos that I have posted over on my main channel. But I've listened to your guys' feedback and I know that not all of you have time for the big several hour long deep dives, even though a lot of you love them as well. So I'm hoping by breaking down some of those big heavier videos into shorter, more digestible clips like this, more of you can enjoy them and get a little bit of, I don't know, education, fun, interesting passing time stuff out of the clips over on this main channel. And if you find something that catches your interest, there'll be plenty more clips for you to watch, or you can go over to my main channel and watch the video in full. Either way, I hope you enjoy and thank you for watching.
Now, for some time, I feel like most of us have understood that feminism, at least modern Western feminism, is no longer actually about securing women's rights or equality for women. Instead, now, more often than not, the term feminism is used to describe middle-class or upper-middle-class women complaining about people who happen to be men and trying to turn it into this larger societal, cultural problem, when really it's like, no, honey, this is a you problem. This is something you should probably figure out within your own life, rather than trying to drag the rest of us into it and make it seem like it's this big cultural problem we all have to solve.
Well, that is just a clear, complete misunderstanding of what feminism is and what it's all about. This is just like when young dumb honeybun was like, well, I've never been oppressed and therefore none of us need feminism, and it was so stupid, so narrow-minded, short-sighted and self-centered, just as this is.
Because it got to a point when no one else had to tell me that, but I had to stand there and say, okay, you say things like, you hate all men. Do you hate your father? No, God no, he's the most hard-working, loving man I've ever known. Do you hate your brothers? Do you hate your fiancé? Do you hate your male friends? Well, no. So how can you say that? And I know that this is maybe like a little example, but it starts at the roots. How can you say that? How can you say such a generalized thing?
It's like, tell me you don't understand feminism without saying you don't understand feminism.
Are you oppressed right now? Well, it depends what you mean. Well, have you ever felt oppressed? Well, no. Have you ever been denied opportunities because you're a woman? No. Have you ever been denied opportunities because you are an immigrant and a woman? Well, no. I've actually become exactly who I want to be, and I have been granted so many more opportunities because I was a woman and because I am an immigrant. And so, what are you talking about right now? We're not talking about globally, we're talking about right now in your everyday life. What is it that supports your logic of I hate all men, they are the evil of the society, I am oppressed because I am a woman and I have been denied all of these opportunities, when you yourself can admit that in your life that has not directly disadvantaged you? How dare you say that? And I felt so terrible about it, and I sat there thinking about these things, reading books and, watching videos and thinking about this and questioning what I've been saying all this time, and I thought, I can't defend this. You're right, me. I can't defend this. I can't say stuff like that because it's not true.
Okay, and if that's the case, that is great for you. I'm happy for you, seriously. But you know these opportunities that you think you're getting just because you're a woman? You're getting them because of feminism, thanks to feminism. I said in my I Don't Need Feminism video, which is aimed at exactly these sorts of people, feminism isn't about just a bunch of rich white women sitting around complaining about men. Women around the world are still facing constant oppression and living in danger, and we need to speak out about that and do something about it. That is why we still need feminism. In that video, and I will leave it linked below if you want to check it out, because I think it's a very good video. It took a lot of research. It covers some really important topics, but I feel like it's just not really like a clickbaity title, so it hasn't got that many views. But I said in that video how once upon a time feminism was very much the domain of white, rich, cis, straight women. But if we're talking about modern feminism, I would argue that we're actually understanding more and more about the importance of feminism being intersectional. As I've said before, and again I'm kind of like quoting myself a little bit here, historically in many Western countries, feminist voices have predominantly been white, middle-class, cisgendered women. And so feminism has focused predominantly on their needs, which is fine. Their needs are important. Except it's caused the differing needs of women of colour, trans women, poorer women, women with disabilities, to name just a few, to be, if not completely silenced, then at least considerably overshadowed and ignored, and that is not at all okay. This needs to change. It's not equality until we have equality for every woman, not just a select few. In that video, I referenced Mickey Kendall's fantastic book, Hood Feminism, which again, I thoroughly recommend, in which she writes, "There's nothing feminist about having so many resources at your fingertips and choosing to be ignorant. Nothing empowering or enlightening in deciding that intent trumps impact, especially when the consequences aren't going to be experienced by you, but will instead be experienced by someone from a marginalized community." Chandra Talpade Mahanti writes that we need to recognize that sexism, racism, misogyny, and heterosexism underlie and fuel social and political institutions of rule, and thus often lead to hatred of women and supposedly justified violence against women. The interwoven process of sexism, racism, misogyny, and heterosexism are an integral part of our social fabric, wherever in the world we happen to be. Feminists today, we're not just sitting around having a whine about men for funsies, you know? We're trying to talk about real issues affecting real women around the world. And people like Lauren, who are willfully misrepresenting what feminism is about, are doing real damage to that, and in turn, hurting real people. She is a danger to women. And I don't think that's an exaggeration to say. We absolutely need to stand up for the rights of trans women who face disproportionate amounts of violence, lower income, housing problems, difficulty as accessing medical care. We need to speak up for women of colour who have to deal with racism on top of sexism and are more likely to die in childbirth or have their pain or other health conditions taken less seriously than anyone. Women in different countries whose laws stop them living as independent adults, who don't allow them a real education or any freedom. Women who suffer because of religious fundamentalism. Women who are trafficked and forced into sex slavery. Victims of child marriage. Victims of female genital mutilation. Women with low incomes, women with disabilities, women who are victims of domestic violence, women in general who are underdiagnosed and undertreated in the healthcare system, women who struggle day to day because the average of things is actually the average of men and not women. For example, when it comes to car seatbelts, car seats, protective gear in workplaces, they're all designed for the average man, and that often puts women's bodies in danger. Women who still do far more unpaid labour than men, women who disproportionately struggle due to issues around pregnancy, childcare, maternity leave, and getting any support with any of that. How women in politics are still not taken as seriously as men, despite often achieving better results than them. How women are still judged and objectified based on the way they look. Women who are sexually assaulted at considerably higher rates than men, and yet still not likely to be believed. Women who have their bodily autonomy and sexual health rights taken away from them on a daily basis. Neurodivergent women who still remain undiagnosed, and when we are, we're not taken as seriously because, again, the average neurodivergent person is a man. It's based on what's average for men. Our symptoms are often so overlooked because we don't, on average, present in the same way that men do. And of course, women in countries with disturbingly high rates of femicide, for example Honduras, where a woman is murdered by a man on average every 18 hours, but only 10% of the men responsible for those murders are ever convicted, and so many more women. This is a real problem worldwide, and we need to speak up for those people. So no, it's not just a bunch of privileged white women sitting around having a giggle and a moan about like, oh, you'll not believe what Tom down the hall said to me the other day. These are real issues affecting real women who are in danger. Lauren is missing the point entirely, and that harms real people. I get quite passionate about this.